It looks like we start with arguably the best game of the week. Maybe Cardinals, or best game of this slate. Maybe Cardinals 49ers is, but we will start regardless with Bucks at Falcons. For those of you who are able to see the graphic, I know if you're listening to us, we'll have to kind of talk you through it. But for those of you who are seeing the numbers on screen, for Baker Mayfield, that says 6-18.7. That means the Falcons rank as the sixth best matchup and average 18.7 points per game allowed. So that is what that is. So we'll start off with the quarterbacks here. We got Baker. We've got Kirk Cousins, sixth best matchup for Baker, 18th best for Kirko here. I assume Kirk is slightly moving up and Baker is slightly moving down. Has Baker fallen back into QB2 range for you guys, or is he still clinging to QB1 territory for dear life? I have him at 9, and I have Kirk at 18. So Baker is still inside the top 20 for me, or top 12 for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to really argue.
He didn't get the message.
No, he didn't get the message. That's okay. I was waiting and hoping he saw it, but it's all
you put it in the private chat, Jeremy. You go first because you're in the middle.
Hey, guess what? I'm in the middle spot, so let's go first. I totally agree with you on Baker Mayfield. He's my 7th ranked QB this week. We have bye weeks, right? So that's part of the concern. I can't think of exactly who's on bye. At least Jalen Hurts is one of those guys who would likely be ranked
Tennessee,
above.
Detroit, Philly, and one other team. Rams, Chargers, sorry. Continue, sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So we got Baker at 7. He's just got a really good matchup here, as you can see. And then on the flip side, Kirk Cousins, well, he's my QB 21. I just don't trust it. We haven't seen anything develop with Pitts. The saving grace here is Darnell Mooney. And if we're relying on Darnell Mooney for our quarterback's production, I don't want any part of it. So he's barely a QB2 for me this week.
The saving grace is Darnell Mooney. Ugh. Those words have never been uttered in humankind.
Mooney's a respectable wide receiver. I know it's been rough. It's been a rough go for him the past couple of years, but he did put up 80 receptions, 1,000 yards before. He's solid. I think he actually fits that team really well and gives an option because Pitts is just a nothing burger. We can talk about him in a minute, but just Kyle Pitts has just been a disaster.
Do we have to?
Yeah, I mean, name cachet, right?
You know there's a lot of it's only 4 bye teams this week, and I did a lot of already just looking at some of my rankings going, how is that guy this high? And I'm going, ugh, there's nobody to move. I can't wait till we get to the 6 teams by. Those are just going to be brutal.
Wait till week 14 and the Baltimore Ravens and the Washington Commanders on a bye week, and everyone's like, oh my gosh. Hopefully have a buyout week. Yeah, I like Baker. He's been really good. He's just been a better overall QB than Cousins. Cousins still does not have his fastball. It's the Achilles injury that's kind of holding him back. It's just been a little slow progression to come up for him. Yeah, I like the matchup for both players. I'm not super worried about it. I just want to see a little bit more from Cousins compared to what I've seen. Baker's just been a better quarterback, so he's going to rank higher for me. So I have Baker at QB 11. I have Cousins at QB 19, which seems pretty low, but it's just kind of is what it is. Until we see a little bit more from Cousins, it's hard to push him up into that area.
All right, moving on. We have the running backs. Hey, Jamie. Rashad White splitting kind of with Bucky Irving now. That's a situation to talk about. 10th best matchup for the Bucks. 23rd best matchup for the Falcons. We've got Bijan and the starter over there, Tyler Algier, apparently. So where do we have this? We were just talking about this before the show. There's a questionable tag on Bijan, and it's a Thursday game. So a lot of people were speculating that it's some form of injury, and that's what limited him, and that's why it was Algier so much. It's a hamstring issue, limited participation. So I don't know. What are we thinking here? Because I don't know if we haven't had great luck in the past with Bijan in these injury illness type games. He's put up a nothing burger already once last year. These are 4 running backs here where I'm pretty scared of all of them. Obviously, Bijan's got to go in your lineup if you have him, but it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, we love Bijan Robinson, of course, but we haven't loved him for fantasy this season. He hasn't only but once gone into the end zone. And that was back in week 3 against Kansas City. And he still finished as the RB 17.5 PPR. He's been the 2015, 17, and 28th ranked running back over the first 4 weeks. This is not what we signed up for with Bijan Robinson. And now he's ailing. In my rankings, he's still RB 8. I might be pushing him down as we progress to tomorrow night. That said, yeah, it's just tough. Tyler Algier is going to climb up my rankings. And then we talked about this a couple of days ago with Rachaad White and Bucky Irving. They're basically both back-end RB2s for me. They cannibalize each other, even in a pretty decent matchup here.
Yeah, like that's kind of the concern with the Bucs running backs, right? Is you don't know how it's fully going to play out. I will say that the Falcons defense has been pretty good against running backs. They're not like you would expect them to give up more fantasy points than the Buccaneers, but it's actually flipped. The Buccaneers have given up more fantasy points this year. So it's interesting to look at it that way. And just, we know Bijan, if he's healthy, which is the biggest question mark of it all, he's going to get a lot of work. But in the meantime, I do, because of the strength the Buccaneers defense up front from Vita Vea, like Algier doesn't seem like the best fit this week, but you definitely have to push him inside the top 30 at least, just because of his role in a limited Bijan. It's going to be really good. On the flip side, like Bucky finally got the goal line work. That's incredibly important for him. It's up. The last basically threshold he has to hit is the receiving work and taking third down on options. I don't know if that's ever going to happen with him because of Rachaad White, how good he is at that, but it is what it is. I have them both right alongside each other, like RB24, RB25. They're kind of back together, just hanging out, because I'm not sure exactly how this one's going to split out. And it really comes down to his touchdown.
All righty. Pass catchers here at wide receiver. 26th best matchup for the Bucs. 21st best matchup for the Falcons. Not a great matchup for either. Not really bad enough that you want to dock them. I always mention the matchup, but really, unless it's bottom 5 or 6 or top 5 or 6, you don't really factor it in unless one of the teams has a shutdown corner. But this isn't the case here. So we've got Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan. On the other side, Drake London, Mooney, and Ray McLeod. I guarantee you my top 2 are the 2 Bucs receivers, and they're probably both top 10. And then I think I have London as a 3 and McMillan as a flex. What do you guys have?
Yeah, I don't know what happened with Chris Godwin last week. He still had 9 targets, but just 6 for 69. Didn't get in the end zone is really the issue. I don't expect that to be an every week problem. He's my wide receiver 1 this week. We know he's got the volume. If he scores a touchdown, he's right there. And I'm not concerned about Atlanta because the better Atlanta, who is it, Terrell, is going to be going up against Mike Evans on the outside. So, and then of course, we were talking about this earlier, Sterling Shepard being the wide receiver 3 here with Jalen McMillan out for Tampa. So, he's not flex worthy for me, but I think he does enough where he can kind of take away a little bit of coverage, leaving Godwin wide open. So I love him. Godwin, and then Mike Evans is wide receiver 11, Drake London looking at 13, but I'm going to have to push him down probably to 17, 18 range. And then Mooney probably in the 30s.
Yeah, that's totally fair with that. I'm in on Drake London this week. He's been getting the targets. It's been slowly going up and up and up. It was 3 the first week, 7 in week 2, 9 last week or in week 3, 12 in week 4. Like, he's very much the focal point of that offense. They're slowly coming together and connecting. I like his role. It's similar. He's learning a lot of intermediate. He's not doing the deep stuff. That's more Darnell, Mooney, Rayler, and McLeod. So yeah, he's my wide receiver 12. You could do Mooney in a pinch if you need him. He's pushing into that wide receiver high 30. I think it's 38 for me. I need to double check, but he's been involved in the focal point of that offense, so he's been good. It came down a little bit last week. On the flip side, it's Godwin and Evans. You know what it is. Evans is also dealing with injury, so you have to kind of watch that a little bit. But Godwin's role is really awesome. His expected points is up near. He's overproducing it, so that's why he's a high-end wide receiver 1. So Godwin is wide receiver 8. Evans is wide receiver 14 for me this week.
Let's close this one out with the tight ends because we have to. 22nd best matchup for Otten, 9th best for Pitts. I have Pitts ranked higher than Otten, and I do not like it at all. I think it's matchup and name only. Pitts at 9, which is forcing it. Kate Otten down at 17. I'd love to flip-flop him, but every time I get back in on Otten, he goes out there and gets, 90% route runs with no targets. So I have it Pitts over Kate Otten, but I don't like it one bit. How about you guys?
I can get Pitts all the way down to tight end 13 this week, but Taysom Hill might not play. Evan Ingram remains to be seen if he's going to suit up. David Njoku, all those guys are above him, and they haven't played or are expected not to play. So we'll see if they all do. So Pitts could creep into the top 12 yet again. unfortunate there. K-Dot in 22. Who cares?
Yeah, I really just don't want to play Pitts. Like but you kind of have to rank him at a certain point just because the tight ends are not good. This is the biggest issue we have with tight ends. Like I saw a consensus ranking had freaking David Njoku below Kyle Pitts, and I'm like, what are we doing here, folks? That makes no sense. One guy has an awesome role. I know he's come back from injury, but he's going to be good. Pitts is just not a focal point. He's not getting first read looks or anything like that. So he's tight end 14 for me this week, and I seriously think I need to push him down farther because that offense really hasn't been great at supporting assets, and Pitts is really isn't doing anything. On the flip side, Otton, I have it tight end 18. He's like a boom bust touchdown dependent tight end. We can't expect what we got last week. Like that just seems kind of like fool's gold. So if it sticks, then yeah, I'd be excited for it. I just don't think it's gonna stick.
I just got the results of one of my leagues this week where it's one of those big formats where everyone, it slowly dwindles down. We were down to 64 teams. I just got eliminated. I was the third highest scoring team out of 64 teams. I went head to head with the number one team this week. So I get knocked out because it's a head to head format after the first 3 weeks or first month.
I love fantasy.
Brutal.
Yeah. Third out of 64. And I am now out because I went, this one sold. I'll take it.
I mean, you legit can't play Andrews right now. Like you can't play him. And so I get it. But you're talking about Strange or Theo Johnson. So you basically have to be okay just taking L's in the tight end position. Considering how bad it is, I don't mind it. It's just his current role, he's not running enough routes. They don't pass enough.
No, so sorry, how did you read this? I read it at he's getting Kraft, not Andrews.
It says was offered Andrews for Kraft.
Oh no, then no, don't at all. I want Kraft straight up. That's I read it backwards, and until you said it, I realized I was reading it the wrong way. I want Kraft here, 100%.
Yeah, take the upside to connect to Jordan Love offense.
I don't want Kraft. I love Jordan Love. I love this Packers. I love this Packers offense, but there's so many mouths here. Kraft is going to be boom bust. We've already seen it. I know Jordan Love has only played 2 games, but yeah, we're just way too low on Mark Andrews. I get it. We've seen it. It's horrible. But if we're talking about like tight end 25 in return for Mark Andrews, just hold and pray because that's what you're doing anyway. So
it's so bad. Yeah. I just see zero upside right now. Yeah, it's rough.